Have you ever told someone that you'll forgive them when hell freezes over? Or maybe that you'll like them when hell freezes over? Well, in this game, that has finally happened, or at least that's what it feels like. I don't even think the people that like wintertime would enjoy living in this type of hellhole. Hello, what's up, and welcome everyone. I'm Miss Quinn, and today we'll be talking about Frostpunk. This game, this amazing, stressful game, was released on April 24th, 2018, and Frostpunk is a survival city building game by developers 11-Bit Studios. And if you're wondering if I have already spoken about those devs, no. You see, they're the same devs who are responsible for This War of Mine. Yes, they have created a great game that made me panic on my decisions, whether I steal from people, whether I don't steal from people, whether I just leave them alone. But no, they made it hard on my decisions, and guess what? With this game, they honestly have done it again. In a world where everything has frozen over, we are basically trying to create and sustain the last city in the world. No, I don't understand, however, why they would decide to go north instead of south. However, PM me your dreams. Thank you for asking the question that has been ringing in my head. And after reading some of the responses, I basically got the fact that they had over an abundance of resources such as coal, wood, steel. Honestly, thank you Reddit for helping me out. They say that the game basically explains it in the intro, but in the beginning it kept breaking up, it's so laggy. And I'm pretty sure you guys remember that when I was playing This War of Mine. Listen, my PC isn't the best, okay? I'm amazed it's even running. The Frostpunk generator has more power than my PC. The game right away starts you out with having to build a home for 80 people, which I prioritize them to be around the generator. Yes, everything is around the generator, what you think about it, but I put them the closest that the building could be. The generator does have various power levels that could be switched on to provide more heat to a wider radius. However, this isn't the case in the very beginning because you're going to have to research this. This isn't just given to you. So I wanted to focus on building their tents the closest that it could be. Now, all of this is to provide your people with a warmer environment. And you want to know something that I found really cool? Well, like I said, for me anyway, when you click on the individual person, it tells you their name, their occupation, where they live. Even if they're homeless, it just says homeless. And it even says who their spouse is. And let's just say by chance that they don't have anybody, well, then it just says that they're alone in this world, which honestly kind of hits me in a certain way, hits that little spot. But this added for me a whole other layer that made me want to take care of these people. Now, even though the game starts you out with 80 people, you see this beautiful little magnifying glass that says 17 out of 80. Well, as you can see, it shows how many people out of how many are unemployed. Now, it goes from regular employees to engineers, and the engineers are usually employed by places like the workshop and the hospital. Now, underneath the 68 possible people you can employ, you have the prohibited list, which is a list of 15 children, but you cannot employ them. Well, technically you can't, but technically you can. I'll let you know this later on, but your people will eventually get sick from being out in the cold. And no, I'm not happy about that. But what more can I expect when the game starts you out at -2 degrees Celsius, which equals to -4 degrees Fahrenheit. And not to mention that the first time the game drops, the temperature, it goes down to -40 degrees Celsius, which equals to -40 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not surprised whatsoever why these people are so angry when they live in this current hellhole of a situation. Now, throughout the game, the people will ask for various things such as housing, of course, proper food, more resources, and asking you to send out the occasional search party and so on. Or aside from that, they will bring multiple concerns to you because obviously you're trying to help these people. So expect that to happen. Expect for when another day happens, they have little comments every day. Like another person has a different comment about the day. And honestly, again, I feel like that was a little touch that for me was pretty worth it and I did really enjoy. Throughout this game, the Book of Laws is something that is either going to be your savior or your absolute undoing. This ties into your people because everything has a consequence of either raising discontent or raising the glorious part of hope, which again is something you desperately need. Now, remember how I told you that you can technically employ children? Well, it's because of the Book of Laws that is possible. Here, you can sign it into law that child labor is now legal, or make it to where you have to go and build child shelters because you made that legal instead. Now, the child shelters are for them to go into during work hours, so they're not basically causing trouble, but making any mishap, stuff like that. However, if you make it so where child labor is legal, they can work in basically safe locations such as hot houses, or they can even work at the cookhouses. Do note, however, that if you sign the child labor law into action, they can be injured in accidents, and hope will fall slightly. The first one will allow them to work in safe places like cookhouses or hot houses, just like I said. I for one went with the child shelter law. I didn't want to make them go to work, and I would much rather them be in actual safe locations than potentially getting hurt and possibly risking me having even less hands for when they grow up. I thought about the longevity of this thing. Now, the con, like I said, for the child labor is discontent rising and hope falling. The only con to come out of the child shelter is that you have to build the child shelter, which for me isn't really much of a con and wasn't really something that dissuaded me from siding with that one. The two laws that I honestly struggled to pick from was sustained life and radical treatment. I did end up picking radical treatment, and it's because of my thought process. I actually wanted for them to be treated and to be potentially cured. Now, unfortunately, about 30% of the people that are, that have frostbite and all of that will end up being amputees. But I wanted to try my best to keep them alive and keep the beds available for possibly more sick people. Because if you go with sustained life, they won't be, they won't try to cure them or anything, but they will take up beds for more sick people that you can potentially have in the future. And honestly, like I said, I was thinking about longevity with this game. Two laws that I had no trouble picking between was soup and food additives. Now, food additives is basically allowing the cooks to start putting sawdust into the meals in order to make them more, filling. However, it's, yes, filling, but is it really worth it when you could potentially make the person sick who's eating it? Because yes, 2 raw foods does guarantee you having 6 portions, but again, you run the risk of having them sick because of what you're doing, because obviously consuming sawdust isn't healthy. Point me to one person that actually consumes sawdust on a regular basis and is completely healthy. I'll wait. No? Okay. Now when it comes to the soup, you have 2 raw foods that will turn into 5. Yes, I get it. It is 1 less, and when you're desperate, you want that 1 more, but at least no one gets sick. But whether you pick one or the other, both will lower hope and raise discontent. So unfortunately, There is no getting out of that situation with this decision. Sooner or later, whatever decision you pick will have consequences, and that is something you're going to have to deal with. It's a matter of picking which one you want to go with. For example, the soup versus food additives. Also, with the radical treatment, since I'm pretty sure that's why some of my people started dying. Like, I'm pretty sure that's why they started dying. I don't know quite yet. I'm gonna have to do some research. But if you want to see a possible outcome of child labor while also being extremely funny, I totally recommend this video of Anti-Kleeper, which I hope to have pronounced that right. He did a child labor only challenge. It was so funny, and I fully recommend you give it a watch, after this video, of course. But yeah, that is something that you can do, and again, very funny outcome, though it provides a whole massive challenge from what I saw in the video. In order to unlock the technology tree, you will need to build a workshop. Now, the game will automatically tell you, however, that you need to build one by having a woman tell you to send out a search party. Basically like at the very, very beginning of the game. By saying this, it will basically show up on the lower left-hand corner of what you basically need to do. Build a workshop, build a beacon, and then there you go, bada bing, bada boom. But we want to focus on building a workshop first, of course. Now, the technology tree is essential in growing your city. It is responsible for researching various buildings to help your people, better hunting equipment, a beacon to use for that search party, and more. Now, I researched the ability to research anything on tier 1 and unlock the ability to heat up individual workplace buildings. For me, this was important because I didn't want them to freeze to death, of course, while they were working, so I was just like, hey, why not heat up individual workplace buildings? That way so I can toggle it on and off throughout the workday. So once they're working, I can toggle it on. Once they're working, I can toggle it off, and so on and so on. Because like I said, I wanted them to stay warm while they were working. And for me, them being warm was the ultimate goal I had in mind. Now, when tier 1 became available, and after, of course, I researched that, I got to work on researching bunkhouses in order to help keep my people in a warmer environment while they slept. I know I could have basically picked to begin researching the beacon, but I wanted to focus only on them. They were getting too cold and too discontent, so I wanted to do something fast. But more than likely, that was more than likely how I ended up with my other red flag. You see, researching can only be done by the engineers, as I have said before, while, talking about the people. And researching, you can only do, and it could only advance during work hours, of course, because you need workers. So all that time in free time when they're not working, it's just there sitting at that 43% and gnawing at you because it's not moving anywhere as fast as you want it to go. But like I said, I honestly thought that I could get to the beacon way, way later, and first and foremost take care of the thing that was at hand and getting to their bunkhouses, because again, I wanted them to stay warm. But then afterwards, I researched for a medical building upgrade, because people were getting freaking sick. I swear, if it's not one thing, it's another, and oh my god. Now, I know I didn't spend too much time with the technology tree, but you'll see why in a few. Yes, the technology tree is essential when upgrading the generator power, or in general just helping out your people. However, none of that is possible without any resources. Your main resources are obviously coal, wood, steel, and food, and that is what you have to pay attention to throughout your entire run-through. Obviously, nothing is possible. Building is not possible without any resources, because remember, when I picked the child shelter, what did I have to do? I had to build a child shelter. What did that take? That took wood. Now, with every single thing that you research is going to take resources. Most of that has a base of 20 wood with 10 steel, but again, it always depends on what you're going to research. However, because this is where I made the huge mistake, I picked bunkhouses because I wanted to keep my people warm. Now, yes, I did it with good intentions and everything else. However, in the beginning, my main focus was coal. I was so stressed out about having coal, having enough of it. By the end of my playthrough, I had enough coal to basically tear down the stock houses so I can put my things in there, because I had an abundance of coal. I had enough coal to last me for 4 days. But none of that was worth it, because once I basically researched bunkhouses in order to keep them warm, I basically overdid it with the bunkhouses. Every single basically ounce or piece of wood that I would get, I would automatically throw it into the bunkhouses, which you have to have, I believe, 12 wood in order to build it. Do you know how much I wanted to smack myself in the face for making those mistakes? That's when people started dying. Guess what? I had to build a cemetery, and then people started getting sick. What did I have to do? Research basically the upgrading medical posts. What did that take? More resources. I, for some reason, built another medical post because I was basically, I don't know, I was panicking for the amount of people that were getting sick. I was. Then more people were starting to get hungry because my hunters weren't coming back with enough food, which again is another resource, which made me sign the soup law in the Book of Laws. There are so many things that you have to manage in this game. Food, you have to manage sick people on top of helping the sick. You have to manage to make sure all of them are warm. You have to make sure that, obviously, like I said, that they're eating, that they're healthy, it's so much to manage, on top of managing resources, on top of managing the temperature and how to predict on how you're gonna basically help them get through the cold. Because if there is too much discontent, you lose. If too much people die, you lose. If your generator explodes, you lose. If hope dies, you lose. And of course, you lose the way I did eventually, because as soon as I saw that I ran out of wood, because I, like I said, overdid it with the bunkhouses, I had no choice but to wave the white flag of defeat, because it was going to come sooner or later. This game for me was a really good challenge. It gave me something to think about. However, it gives you so many things to micromanage, which I think is I think every person that micromanages and excels at micromanaging is going to excel at this game. Because like I said in the resources, there's just too many things to pay attention to. You have to pay attention to the people to make sure they are well fed and they're not sick. You have to pay attention to the resources to make sure it's not too low. And then you have to pay attention to what you're basically researching to make sure you're not researching something completely useless for right now. Like, honestly, I think instead of researching really, like at first, once I got it, instead of researching better hunting equipment, I could have gone directly either to the beacon or somewhere else. I shouldn't have gone to the hunting gear. I should have just gone either immediately to researching tier 1 research or researching the beacon, because right away I was going to be able to have more people on my hands, meaning more workers, and more workers mean I could get resources faster. I don't know, the opportunities were endless and I completely missed the mark. And like I said, once I signed into law that, basically the radical treatment, I saw a potential red flag once I signed it and people started dying. And with the resources and the technology tree, I started seeing the red flag once I overdid it with the bunkhouses, and I saw that my stockpile on wood was drastically low. In this game, you have to make so many decisions at the moment. because you have to manage so many things. If you know how to multitask, I hope you're doing well at this game, honestly. You have to make unsettling and downright uncomfortable positions, like breaking a child's heart. I basically had to tell him that no amount of things can bring back his dead mother, which honestly broke me. And she probably died from my radical treatment thing. I don't know, she probably died of hypothermia. Again, I don't know, but I felt guilty once I saw that child, and once he did not want to leave the gravesite, I felt bad. It's easy to lose track of all these things that you need to be on top of. Like I said, I lost due to the lack of resources, which was wood. No amount of me basically tearing down the stockpile buildings. I took down 3, and it was just enough to make the beacon, and that was it. I didn't account for the additional 40 wood that it would take for me to make a squad in order for them to go and find people or anything. I didn't account for any of that. But again, this was my first playthrough, and I actually really enjoyed this. I just found it extremely stressful half the time. I probably will not make the same mistake of people, getting amputated the next time, probably. I have no idea, because in all due respect, that decision was made because I wanted to keep hospital beds available for future sick people. I don't know if I did that right. I don't know if I did that wrong. Please let me know if you did something else during your run. But with that being said, guys, I will leave it here. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Remember, I had a bunch of stuff when it came to family. I had personal issues of my own. However, all of that is done now. I am back. And yeah, this game, I would continue to play it. I honestly would, if I had a better PC, because every time, like, you're probably seeing in the clips, it's lagging so bad, and I am so sorry for the lag. Anyway, if there's another game you want me to talk about, I have in my little eye Marvel's Avengers and Alan Wake, since Alan Wake 2 has already come out by the time that this has been uploaded. So I'll see which one I can get to. Remember, I do stream on Twitch, so follow me on Twitch. And because I will be streaming Alan Wake pretty soon. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I know I never really said that in the past before, but hey, it's a new me. I came back and I'm trying to do better. And yeah, it just means a lot. I've worked a lot on this video, and yeah, I guess it'd be cool if you subscribe and stuff. Okay, bye.